Joining us right now is former senior advisor to House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, Michael Hardaway. He is the publisher of the Hardaway Wire, and Rohit Kumar, who served as deputy chief of staff to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. He's now PwC's Washington National Tax Services co-leader. And gentlemen, welcome to both of you. Michael, I think you think that things are pretty dire, maybe more dire than you've ever seen.
I have real concerns. I think that this is not 2011. You don't have John Boehner sort of leading this for House Republicans, and you have a situation where Kevin McCarthy cut a deal to become Speaker where at any given time, one member of his conference can recall him, and that's problematic. You also have an issue where Democrats know they're negotiating with someone who doesn't have real leverage within his own conference. And so the question is, if you're the president and you negotiate something with Mr. McCarthy, does that actually hold once he gets back to the Capitol? That's not clear.
Rohit, you think that maybe there's a little more reason to be optimistic about things just because the staffs are still talking?
Yeah, a couple of things. The staffs are still talking, and while we can sort of engage in this collective fiction that they're having a separate conversation about the budget that's separate from the debt limit, I think we all know if they reach an agreement, then they will travel together. And I'm optimistic because I lived through this in 2011. I acutely remember that 4 days before we were going to go over the cliff, we had no agreement. Not only did we not have an agreement, you couldn't even see a path to an agreement. And then at about the 72-hour mark, we had a final breakthrough. And we spent the next 71 hours drafting it into legislative language, and we passed it in time. So I have seen and lived this. I know we've come close in the past and managed to avoid the worst of the worst. And I expect we'll follow roughly the same trajectory this time around.
I certainly hope that's the case, Rohit. But to Michael's point, the idea that in the past maybe you were dealing with Boehner or Pelosi or somebody who really did have a pretty strong grip on their caucus. If that's not the case with Kevin McCarthy, how concerning is that?
You know, I think this sort of the role of the Freedom Caucus has been somewhat overstated in this exercise because, look, at the end of the day, a bill that raises the debt limit.
I don't think it's the Freedom Caucus.
Well, it's you know, whatever the
Matt
sort of
Gaetz,
the conference is, you're not going to get 218 Republicans to vote for the compromise agreement, right? That's just not with a Democratic Senate, not with a Democrat in the White House. And so I think the Speaker McCarthy has been clear, you know, there are going to be some spending reductions as part of this exercise, but House Republicans are prepared to vote to raise the debt limit. And it won't be all of them at the end of the day. But I'm assuming, but I suppose I can be wrong about this, that if the president is endorsing the package, that you're getting an overwhelming number of House and Senate Democrats voting for it. So you're not going to need 218 House Republicans. You're going to need some House Republicans, but you're not going to need all of them.
Yeah, and along those lines, Michael, I think before the Speaker was able to wrangle, surprisingly to a lot of people, and I think to the chagrin of a lot of Democrats, when he got 217 and he did it, I mean, you seem like you're kind of living in the past, saying he was able to do it. To say that, well, no one really trusts that he can get these guys all in line. He got them in line. So, and that was a game changer at that time, because at that point, the president and all of his allies can't say, where is it, McCarthy? Where is it? It's there. He did it. So to say that he doesn't have any power and can't wrangle him and, you know, can't get him to do what he wants, he already accomplished that. So it's kind of, you know, need to come into the present, not hope what could have been in the past.
Well, I'm glad he got to 218 on the 15th try. I will say that that is not the reason I think I have concerns here. I think the one reason I have concerns is that any one member of his conference at any time can force a recall vote on his speakership, and he is aware of that. So the question is, if he is negotiating with the president and Democrats on any of these things, is he afraid to go back to his conference and try to force a vote on some particular issue that they may not support, knowing that may then have repercussions concerning his speakership? That's a real question.
One person can call it, but if he doesn't have enough people for it to happen, that's moot too. We know we got some crazy Republicans in the House. At any given time, that could happen, but that doesn't mean he's going to get thrown out. Does it, Rohit? It take more people than one. One can.
It takes one to initiate the motion, but it takes 218 to remove a speaker. And I think a lot of people are assuming that, let's say there are 5 that are unhappy, right? And that might be outcome determinative. But that's only true if you assume that every House Democrat would vote to vacate the speakership if it was in response to passing a debt limit bill that House Democrats were voting for, that President Biden wanted to sign. And I'm not sure that that is an automatic, that you would have all 213 House Democrats saying, yeah, you helped get a bill to the president's desk that avoided default, that he wanted to sign, that we voted for, and then we are going to join in punishing you for that result. I think that, you would have to think carefully about what kind of incentives that creates going forward. And you'd have to think carefully about who might the next speaker be, and are they going to be more or less to our liking if Speaker McCarthy were somehow removed from office.